What is a dark age and how do you know if you're in one? Well, it's of my belief that we are currently experiencing a technological dark age. Now that sounds so doom and gloom and fatalist, but dark ages are actually a common phenomenon for human history. The thing is, they happen in such large cycles that they're hard to kind of identify and spot because they don't happen every year. They happen, within the spans of different millennia, maybe centuries, right? So what is a dark age? In essence, a dark age is when a civilization has lost knowledge, right? It's lost knowledge of itself. And the reason why human beings have gone out of their way to write Bibles and spiritual texts and have oral stories and traditions that are passed down and wisdom that's passed down is because we've always been afraid of losing the knowledge of ourselves, because we're actually smart enough to have realized and experienced that when we lose knowledge of ourselves, of our nature, that we are self-destructive and we lose stability and our societies collapse. This is what happened to Roman empires, ancient Egypt empires. The reason why societies collapse is usually a combination of a loss of knowledge as well as some form of technological revolution that restructures the order of the world. Now, as you guys know, I talk a lot about how our lifetime, we have adopted so much technology in such an aggressive way that it's clearly created levels of instability. There were civilizations that lasted 3,000 years and stayed the same. The world you were born into was the world you died in, and so was your parents and your parents' parents and your parents' parents' parents. The world that your kids grew up in or was birthed in was the same world they died in terms of the technological landscape. You walk outside and it's the same thing outside for hundreds of years. It's the same thing to do for hundreds of years. Life didn't change so quickly. But because we live in a society that has a particular philosophy about technology, we believe that we need to adopt technology really quickly because we associate technology with progression. We have this idea that life isn't this thing that should be, super stable, because we understand this to be stagnation, and we associate this stagnation or this kind of plateau with death of some sort. We believe, and we have seen how innovation can help provide a higher quality of life for the common good. So innovations like the washing machine and the car and, these things have made a lot of life's historic inconveniences go away. We didn't want to wash clothes by hand. We didn't want to sew clothes by hand. We didn't want to kill our own animals by hand. We were really loving this idea that, hey, by inventing things and by investing in technology, we get to get rid of a lot of the drudgery that comes with life. And we also get closer to this ideology of a utopia, of some kind of heaven where the technology and the machinery is doing all the work for us so that we don't have to deal with it anymore. But what's not thought out about that ideology is the value of friction, adversity, and inconvenience to the meaning of life. We think that we need to take everything bad out of life and that's how you win life, or that's how you create a meaningful life. But what we're starting to realize is that by trying to take everything bad out of life, you are interrupting the natural dynamic between you and nature. You're interrupting the natural dynamic between you and having meaning. If things are too easy, things lose meaning. Think about sport, right? If a game is too easy to win, well, no one wants to play it. No one wants to watch it. It's pointless. What gives the sport meaning or the game meaning is the friction and the competitiveness between two authentic sources going back and forth. And so that is the nature of life. And I'm putting because I often talk about how in my work, the modern Western ideology really doesn't like this dark part of the nature of reality. So it's trying to just say, no, we don't need this dark part. All this stuff that comes with like inconvenience and sickness and stuff, we don't need that. We just want to keep this part because we like how this white part feels. And it's like, yeah, it feels really good, but you can overdo it. So what happens when you build technology that overdoes it is you create so many conveniences that people stop having knowledge about themselves. So right now we're outsourcing thinking in of itself. Thinking is a huge part of knowledge, right? We're saying, thinking can be outsourced to computers. We figured out how to put all our thoughts into a computer, and it's going to spit out averages of our intelligence to ourselves, and we're going to use these averages of intelligence to help make the decisions that we would have made with our own brains. But it's not just AI, right? We're losing knowledge in plenty of skills, including cooking, including math, science, including social skills. And those things were dwindling before AI got here. AI is just accelerating it. So the way you know you're living in a dark age is when you have a loss of knowledge happening on a wide scale. It could look like banning books. It could look like revolutionizing the way people are learning. Because essentially, if you disrupt how people are taking in knowledge, and again, we usually take knowledge from elders to the youth, but our tech philosophy has flipped that so that the youth is giving the elders knowledge because we believe that we need to change our technological landscape. We understand this as advancement. We think this is the way to go. And so the youth, we don't study what the old are doing. We don't care about what the old are doing. If you notice, we're always like, well, what's Gen Z doing? When millennials were young, it was like, what are millennials doing? What are they doing? We gotta know what they're doing because we need to know how to sell stuff to them because our economy is based on the desires of the youth. But the source of knowledge that comes from the youth is different than the source of knowledge that comes from the elders. The source of knowledge that comes from the elders comes from lineages. A lot of the things your grandma knows and your grandpa knows, some of those things have been passed down for centuries. Some of those things have been passed down straight from Africa or Europe. Some of those recipes, some of those sayings, some of those gestures, some of those beliefs. And we've tried to keep as much as possible, naturally to pass that down, but that is not being valued anymore. We don't really care. We actually see older people as, kind of like a waste. Like they kind of are a nuisance. They don't understand how to use technology. They're not very valuable because we value people based on their tech literacy, which is why the youth is pedestalized in our culture. But as a result, we lose a lot of this knowledge, and in addition to us having this technological revolution, we are experiencing a dark age. So what can we do now? What we can do now is kind of board the windows and say, what do we want to keep? We cannot control the fact that we're about to get overhauled by this technology, but we can look around, just like we're kind of in a fire, but on a societal level, and say, well, what do you want to keep? What do you want to make sure we preserve, right? What dances, what music, what food, what ideas, what beliefs, what skills, what techniques, what do you want to keep? That's as much power we have, and that's called cultural preservation. And it's the reason why we have museums and universities and archives, because it is wise to keep what we can as we get this technological overhaul.